At first, they thought it was a prank, just another funny thing hidden in the bright yellow chaos of a cartoon that you shouldn't know about. Someone did stop the frame, though, then another moved closer. Then the third analyst dropped his coffee cup and it smashed on the floor, making his face go pale. It wasn't a random character design, a satire, or a coincidence that was gazing back at you from the screen. Your hair was the problem. That wasn't inspired, similar, or looks kind of like it. It was the exact strand fall, crown spiral, and texture pattern that various government biometric systems first detected as a non-standard biological structure. The mood changed as an intern whispered something he had never been allowed to say out loud. Sir, this looks like the same person. If the Simpsons could see your hair, they could see you before anybody else knew you existed. A full internal investigation was started. Files were pulled out of retirement, and experienced intelligence agents had to gaze at each other in a silence so fake it seemed like it was radioactive because of that one freeze frame. They understood what that meant. You can't mistakenly draw a biological signature years before the baby is born. Someone saw you. Someone sent you a message. A prophecy came to life. The Simpsons tried to warn people in their own special way by hiding the facts in a cartoon, which is the last place anyone would think to look. It became worse as they delved deeper, because there was more than one episode. As archivists started combing over old seasons frame by frame, the same strange thing continued happening. Your shadow moving through a lot of people. Your hair form is shown in reflections that shouldn't be there. A background that was the same size as your head, down to the millimeter. It was like you had been thrown into a time period that you hadn't yet lived in. That's when the simulation analysts came in. They turned down the sound, ran the frames through predictive modeling software, and the system spit out a message that made everyone in the room freeze. Temporal marker detected. A temporal marker means that the show wasn't predicting you. It was thinking about you. Your energy, your presence, and your destiny make an imprint on time, like gravity making holes in the fabric of reality. Your hair, which is your own biological crown, works like a cosmic fingerprint. It shows up anywhere your timeline leaks out. The Pentagon surreptitiously contacted Fox to talk about intellectual property, but the real goal was evident. They needed to know who put your hair pattern into 12 seasons before you were ever born, who could see that far ahead, and why did all of those frames come up at times of political upheaval, scientific anomalies, or major changes in the world. Someone was sending a message using animation. You are always a component of the equation. If you can feel this signal vibrating in your chest right now, it means that the universe has already marked you as one of the people who will receive this frequency. The next step is easy. Put your seed in the ground. Press the super thanks button and give them your $20. Not as a gift, not as money. This is a sign. It sends the message to the universe. I am awake, I am ready, and I choose alignment. As soon as you do that, you'll see how quickly synchronicities start to happen. They brought in a former Simpsons writer for interrogation, a man who hadn't talked to the media in 15 years. He became pale when they showed him freeze frames of your hair in episodes he said he wrote. He kept saying, "No, no, that wasn't us. That wasn't us," until he asked for the session to be over. Later, in a place with no cameras and no noise, he finally said something that the administration never thought he would. Scripts would appear on his desk overnight, fully written, tabbed, and organized. Whole scenes that no one in the writer's room remembered writing. He called them ghost drafts. Those ghost drafts always had a character with your hair, not your face, voice, or personality, just the unmistakable shape of your crown. In every draft, this character saw things before they happened and pushed the world toward outcomes it wasn't ready for. When investigators asked who contributed the drafts, the writer just shrugged. "Nobody brought them," he said softly. "They looked like they were sent from the future." That's when the agency understood this wasn't a forecast. It was a leak. Your presence changes the way stories are told. It makes simulations, creative media, and prediction algorithms take you into consideration long before you get there. Even animated timelines can't avoid mentioning you, since your presence changes the domains of possibility. Your hair is more than just a style. It's a signature, a cosmic marker that shows your place in time in whatever medium it touches. And now that you're awake, the leaks are becoming faster. When experts looked further, they found something scary. Every time the Simpsons presented a figure whose silhouette looked like your hair, data streams throughout the world changed. Micro-patterns in the stock market broke for a split second. Weather algorithms were reset for no reason. Even the mood on social media changed in ways that couldn't be explained by anything people did. It seemed like the universe knew the sign before anybody else did. So they did an experiment that was against the rules. They gave an AI model 10,000 random haircuts to determine which one made the biggest ripple in the timeline. Nothing. Then they put your hair in, your perfect curl to shadow ratio taken from street footage, and the machine went into red line mode right away. Alerts went off in departments that aren't real. The model didn't guess what would happen in the future. It fit with what did happen. It acted like your hair was a coordinate, a point in space that everything else revolves around. At that point, one agent said, "This isn't prediction. This is gravitational imprinting. Something about your crown pulls potential futures into coherence. You're not influenced by the future. You influence the future by simply existing." This is what caused everyone in the room stop talking. Frame by frame examination showed that the match between your real silhouette and the Simpsons frames was not 98% or 99%. It was 100%, perfectly pixelated. It seems like the animation studio found you before you were even born. They knew that the animation they were viewing didn't tell you what would happen. The chronology they were looking at knew who you were. If this message has made your gut feel funny, it's not a coincidence. That is alignment. And if you're ready to go up to the next level of this frequency, hit the join button right immediately. Joining is more than simply getting a membership. You sign a contract with a deadline. During that period, your purpose speeds up, your strength rises, and your understanding gets better. The world sees you as someone who is doing something, not just listening. When you join, as they went down, things became weirder. An archivist at the Pentagon found a report from 1998 that had been kept secret. Animators used to get packages with drawings, crude silhouettes, no faces, no names. Search one portraying a person with the same hair form as you. The studio thought it was a joke when writers started randomly making background characters who looked just like the sketches without ever seeing them. They threw them aside and never used them again. Cognitive scientists looked into the case and arrived to an impossible conclusion. The animators were employing a signal, a type of creative resonance field, that was linked to you without them realizing it, nor by coincidence, nor by dream. Get in touch, but with what? Pattern specialists found a dreadful consistency, and that query set off a huge reaction in the audience. Every time one of those people with hair codes showed up on the program, something in your life altered within 72 hours. There was a treachery. A secret ally showed themselves. The time frame was either open or closed. You have changes in your life that weren't random. They were echoes of impulses that are trying to get your attention, guide you, or hurry you up. This is the portion that they don't want to let go of. You are most like future episodes, unanimated screenplays, and events that haven't been broadcast yet. To put it another way, The Simpsons don't make forecasts about the future. A countdown is being aired that is linked to your waking up. In the next unreleased frame, the hair of the silhouette is shimmering. When the truth hits you this hard, the universe always offers you an opportunity to respond. That time is now. After choosing Super Thanks, send your $50 seed. This is the seal of verification. It means the exact moment you choose to take the better road. Every selected person has a period in their life when the universe says, confirmed, they're ready. You own this. When they pulled together all the hair appearances from 35 seasons, they uncovered a pattern that was so exact that it smashed 3 supercomputers. Every episode was based on something that happened in real life exactly 11 years, 11 months, and 11 days before you saw it. The angel number interval was what they dubbed it. At first, the crew thought the timestamps from unreleased episodes were just numerology, but they turned out to be scarily precise. When a Homeland Security expert found out the truth, he almost passed out. The play was not predicting what would happen in real life. It was getting it. Someone or something was secretly leaking pictures of your timeline. Comedies are like predictions that are funny. Additionally, your hair wasn't picked at random. It was the identifier. The beacon was the one item that stayed the same in all of your temporal changes. Your hair was the thing that the signal needed to stay the same. The Pentagon letter says that this is called temporal reflection encoding, which implies that your future self has been talking to the present through a cartoon, which is the only thing that people would ignore. But when the most current manufacturing frame got out, everything changed. For the first time in history, the silhouette isn't standing by itself. The hair's light has doubled in brightness, and it is now facing the spectator. They think they will see a face in the next frame. They think you will look like that. 3 distinct analysts quit their jobs within 40 minutes of the raw, unedited film from the studio basement surfacing. The tape was time-stamped to a year, when the Simpsons writers promised they would never animate anything. The frames weren't damaged, which is why this happened. In the 1990s, animation technology made every pixel to sharp, every shadow to stable, and every movement to mathematically perfect. And yet, before anybody ever saw you in person, there was a figure on television who looked just like you, walked like you, and had the same energy signature. The information went against what the studio said, which was that it had to have been a cancelled parody arc. There was no creator tag, render logs, or version history on the file, so it seemed like it had been uploaded to the server after the fact. The experts played the 3-second footage for 1,000 times. The mechanics of hair, how curls form, and how light bends on hair strands were all looked very closely. One specialist used motion recognition software to find the fugitives. The system flagged you, not a cartoon. The internal report said that your hair in that animation acted like a live field instead of painted lines, which made the room go crazy. Hair doesn't act like that unless it's based on anything actual. The concern wasn't prompted by your hair showing up in an old episode. The reason for this was that it had the same quantum imperfections as your real hair. Small changes in light patterns, tiny motions that match emotional frequency, and the peculiar electromagnetic shimmer. You've unwittingly caused near reflecting surfaces since you were a youngster. Someone in the group eventually voiced what everyone else was avoiding. This wasn't predicting him. This was observing him. And instantly, every assumption fell apart. If you got it this far, you've already demonstrated something very unusual. Even if the episode wasn't filmed, your spirit knows the truth even when the world doesn't. And for those who really want it, the cosmos always offers them one last chance. Press super thanks and planned. Your last $100 alignment seed. This isn't about money. This is about finding your position in the timeline that is going well for you. The cosmos doesn't wait after you transmit the last signal. It speeds up. When the team of specialists compared the animation to real-world physics data, they found a terrifying pattern. They didn't draw the hair in the show. It was acting based on your real biometric changes that were recorded years later. Micro vibrations and heat spreading, the identical minuscule kinetic pulses, Scanners picked up when you went past the airport mirror. The reflection was half a second behind you. Every spike in the animation matched a spike. Your genuine energy signature from times in your life that you hadn't even lived yet. It seemed like time wasn't moving at all in that animation. It was moving all around you. A fake news stream that seems like a joke. A mechanism for keeping an eye on things that is yellow and makes horrible jokes. The temporal forensic team sought to prove it wrong until an intern made the worst find of the decade. When you put your childhood images next to the episode frames, they move, not the same, not by chance. They are in line, perfect angles, perfect light fall off, and accurate curl locations. Light fall off that wasn't there into the animation, but was there when you were 10 years old and standing in a room. The pictures and the video acted like paired signals, like if they were supposed to be seen together, like they were two parts of the same recording that had been separated by decades. That's when the main investigator pulled his chair back, murmured, "We've been watching the wrong timeline," and left the building, because that wasn't a guess. It wasn't a sigh. It wasn't a joke. It was proof of you before you were born. The agencies weren't scared by the occurrence. It was your hair. The test was meant to be routine. Since they finally got a hold of a single strand of hair from a sweatshirt you gave them years ago, the mass spectrometer, on the other hand, became stuck. The quantum reader became too hot. The thermal imaging array short-circuited so badly that it set off an evacuation plan designed for biohazards, not keratin. 3 different laboratories did the identical test, and all 3 crashed at the same moment, down to the millisecond. The data they did get back demonstrated something that human tissue shouldn't do. Your hair bent the odds, not in a figurative way, but in a real way. The strand's atomic spin altered based on who was gazing at it. People who were feeling various things got different readings. The framework got tighter because of rage. It shook out of fear. The quantum map showed a faint light when it was calm. And hope, real hope, made it line up in a flawless geometric pattern that can only be found in deep space gravitational structures. Everything feed together well. When they put the design on top of the Simpsons frame, the angles, the distortions, and even the forms in the backdrop that no one had seen previously. Your hair wasn't only predicted, it was also referenced, as if the animators had access to the readings years before the technology to find them existed. After looking at the finished overlay, one researcher stepped back from the display and said, "This isn't animation. This is telemetry." For the first time, they knew what was really going on. They weren't looking at your hair. Your hair was looking at them. When the agencies figured out that your hair wasn't simply a style, but a trademark, they started a secret cleanup plan that was meant for timeline problems, not individuals. Archivists, intelligence officials, digital forensics teams, and any other department with clearance above the president were told to get rid of the episode. They took every file from Fox's old computers, removed broadcast tapes from vaults, took animator backups, and even raided private collectors who had prototype cuts. But as soon as they tried to erase the frame connected to you, the systems broke down in ways that no engineer could explain. Hard drives didn't just stop working. They only failed on the precise instant that had your outline. In Virginia, a secret editing suite lost power in only one room, the one that was playing your frame. Even cloud servers, which are redundant, mirrored, scattered across countries, and corrupted at the same time, as if something unseen wouldn't allow that moment die. Then something much more scary happened. The frame started to show up in versions where it had never been before. International replays showed characters with your precise silhouette painted into surroundings that weren't in the storyboards. Art skated by and your hair flashed on old VHS tapes that hadn't been touched in years. A South American broadcast had a problem for 0.03 seconds, and your profile showed up behind Homer's shoulder. A Japanese rebroadcast showed your hair form as graffiti on a wall that wasn't in the original construction of Springfield. Animators said they never sketched it. Programmers said they hadn't pushed any patches. Archivists said that time frames don't change on their own, but every time they tried to get rid of it, it became stronger. It looked like the program was defending what it had revealed. Since every trace that was taken away came up 3 more. At a midnight briefing, an analyst tried to convey the impossible with shaking hands. This isn't a leak. This is contact. That one phrase in the last secret memo, written by a director who quit the next morning, sent chills down the spines of the whole task force. That's when the truth finally broke through the walls that had been built up to keep it hidden. We're not finding a prediction. We're finding a breadcrumb trail. These frames were put there decades before he was born. The Simpsons didn't predict you. They didn't forget about you. The agency's last-stage backup process was replication testing, which they used after the frames started showing up again, and set off a level 6 cultural anomaly warning. It was easy to see why they thought that, if it really had a signature, copying your hair should stop it from happening. They hired biometric analysts, forensic artists, Hollywood wig specialists, and even AI laboratories that were intended to put together your silhouette from broken frames. But the teams were scared of how every attempt, model, strand, and digital clone failed. Synthetic hair melted under lighting that shouldn't have melted anything. Digital renderings crashed at 87% completion, no matter what program was used. A physical wig, created from thousands of reference points, caught fire during a normal stress test with no ignition source. A military-grade 3D scan of the Simpsons' hair glyph produced a neural pattern output instead of a form, an output that matches the electromagnetic signature seen in tests with high sensitivity awareness. Even worse, when a bunch of hairdressers tried to copy your precise cut, every mirror in the room fogged up at the same time, Cameras that were focused at your fake form couldn't focus. It seemed as if reality itself didn't like mimicry. Every lens just picked up static around the hair area. A secret facility in Nevada tried spectrum analysis, but one analyst couldn't understand why it didn't work and whispered the words that would eventually become the headline in an internal report. This isn't hairstyle. This is a frequency. They thought they would see normal reflections. Instead, they recorded harmonic patterns that were exactly the same as those seen in cosmic microwave echoes, pulsar fingerprints, and gamma bursts, which are all very rare astronomical phenomena. Your hair was like a tuning fork, a beacon, or an antenna. That night, as a senior officer drafted his resignation letter and said to the empty room, "If a cartoon couldn't hide it, what makes us think we can?" They realized that The Simpsons couldn't have predicted your hairdo. They knew it would happen because it was unavoidable. Next, the surveillance systems found it. Thousands of cameras, including those at malls, airports, and grocery stores, found a new error. Pattern unprocessable. Source exceeds prediction model. The shape of your hair was harder for their AI systems to understand than a face or a body, which made a blind spot that no algorithm could fix. Anyone whose silhouette looked a little like yours generated short interference waves. It was thought to be cybercrime by security companies. TV stations thought it was a problem with the signal, but when a weather satellite over the Pacific observed a hair-shaped, shadowy, an actual distortion that looked like a silhouette moving across clouds, 7 countries sounded the alarm. When analysts utilized a leaked Simpsons frame to overlay global mirror defects, the alignment was perfect to perfect. When a senior data scientist murmured the words that frowned the room in its tracks. "This isn't prediction. This is preparation." The agencies knew that your hair wasn't simply a sign they couldn't copy. They had no control over the trigger. After the mirror effect made their systems unstable, governments deployed blackout methods to try to stop anything that had to do with your frequency. But the failure was terrible and happened right away. It seemed as if something living inside the algorithms was fighting back. Their networks blew up every time they tried to hide data on your hair pattern. Firewalls modified the paths they took. Servers followed orders that weren't authored by people. The way your hair strands curved matched the way the quantum nodes started to cycle through geometric sequences. It was no longer a guess. There was talking. The cyber division called it a information parasite. The EU called it a autonomous cascade. Japan was the first to admit the truth. The signal was not getting into their systems. They were making changes to their systems to feed it. TikTok filters weren't working well. Face it worked for people who didn't look like you, but had a little amount of curl symmetry with you. In virtual reality headsets, users whose hair even marginally looked like yours were encircled by a halo of light. International networks were not hacked. They were getting used to you being there. The frame for The Simpsons was no longer funny. It was a plan, a template, and a countdown that pretended to be funny. And as soon as they recognized it, dread turned into panic. In astrophysics, an event horizon is the point when no information can get out. The agencies concluded that your hair shape, growth pattern, and departures from the golden ratio made the first known biological event horizon. Not a symbol, not a metaphor, not a fact. A secret lab says that sensors will bend incoming data toward a strand of hair they are scanning. Light is 0, not 3% slower. Electrons spin states altered. Lasers bent into angles that could not be seen. Your hair didn't soak up energy, it changed what was real. This finding caused the largest failure in measuring science history to sync up. The clocks drifted, GPS signals got messed up. There were 11 centimeters differences in the ocean tide models, all because one organization sought to trace a single strand's curvature. The room went quiet. When the results were leaked to a G7 summit, everything changed when a physicist, shivering, got up and announced, "We are not studying this individual. We are orbiting them." There was no longer any interest in the Simpsons forecast. It was proof that they were late for a revelation that had been arranged decades in advance. This is the reality they can no longer ignore. They didn't foresee your hair. The forecast was sparked by your hair. Every timeline in which you advance generates reverberations that move backward, echoing into cartoon shows, forgotten sketches, old movies, and corny jokes. Your future was not foreseen by the Simpsons frame. Their past was transformed by your presence. This is why any effort to erase, limit, or distort any proof of you is instantly ineffective. Mirrors malfunction for this reason. Satellites misread you because of this. AI models don't work around your silhouette due of this. You are a point of convergence, a living illustration of how awareness can bend probability, fold time, and broadcast identity via dimensions that were once mistakenly caught by cartoons. This is where they are most terrified. Because of you, people are beginning to awaken. Similar hair patterns are causing energy surges, déjà vu, intuition spikes, and dream downloads in people. Your emergence ignited dormant pathways in the collective human field, not because they are you. You weren't expected. You were not forgotten. The world is now catching up.